These are the retirement numbers Fidelity told you at ages 30, 40, 50, 60, and 67. And if you are thinking about retiring between 45 and 65, these numbers may be why you think you failed when you actually did well. Today, I want to talk about Fidelity's famous 10 times your salary rule, where it comes from, how it quietly fits into math, and why many people in their 50s and 60s are scared away by a benchmark that has never really been established for them. Stick to my point, because at the end of this video, you'll know which number really matters to your retirement. And I promise you, Fidelity won't sell it. Let's start with the rule itself, because you may have seen it anywhere. Fidelity guidelines: double wages at 30, double wages at 40, double wages at 50, double wages at 60, and double wages at 67. Finally, the famous 10 times is the headline number, and to achieve that goal, they recommend saving 15% a year in pre-tax income, including any employer matching plan. The goal is to replace at least 45% of pre-retirement income with savings, while Social Security covers the rest. On the surface, it all sounds reasonable, with clean multipliers and neat little ladders to climb. The question is, what is hidden under the ladder? Here are Fidelity's actual assumptions when building 10 times numbers directly from their own published methods. They assume you start saving at 25, contribute 15% a year without missing a beat, and work all day, assuming wages are rising steadily at 1.5% above inflation. More than half of your portfolio has been stocks for most of your career. The model also assumes that you retire at exactly 67 and plan to live to 93 with zero pension income. Go through the list again and ask if it describes your actual career, because it doesn't describe most of the people I've spoken to. Real careers come with openings, layoffs, children, seniority, late starts, and job changes. And you turn your 401k into cash in your 20s because no one tells you not to. Sometimes, no matter how disciplined you are, it is impossible to save 15%. The Fidelity model draws a perfect straight line, but real life looks more like a curve. Here is what really bothers me about the whole framework. The 10 times rule is based on your income, not your expenses, which is the biggest flaw in the whole model. Think of it this way. If you make $200,000 a year and actually live on $80,000, why should your retirement goal be tied to $200,000 you never spent in the first place? You don't need to replace your unused income. You need to replace your real life. But Fidelity's framework never asks that question. It just doubles your salary and calls it a plan. That leads to another rule, a rule worth understanding. As early as October 1994, a financial planner named William Bengen published a paper in the Journal of Financial Planning asking a seemingly simple question: how much money retirees can safely withdraw each year during their 30-year retirement without running out of money? His answer became one of the most famous numbers in personal finance: the 4% rule, in which you withdraw 4% in the first year and then adjust it annually for inflation. And historically, you're fine. Bengen's portfolio to test: this is 50 to 75% of stocks, with the rest being medium-term treasury bonds. Turn to the 4% rule, and you get the formula that many smart savers actually use today. 25 times your annual spending, not your income and spending. Spend $60,000 a year, and your goal is $1.5 million. Living on $40,000, your goal is $1 million. That is the whole calculation. And note that it is not related to what is on your paycheck. That is what is really interesting. Mr. Bengen himself updated his job in 2025, raising it from 4% to 4.7% and retiring for 30 years, according to a new study reported by Forbes in October 2025. In an interview with CNBC in September, Mr. Bengen called inflation the biggest enemy of retirees. Inventors of conservative rules of thumb now tell people they may be able to spend more than originally suggested, meaning Fidelity, 4 to 5% divestment guidance, may actually be a cautious side, not a radical one. The second big thing the Fidelity model ignores is what happens to spending once you stop working, because it won't stay flat, and spending for most retirees will actually fall and then slowly rise. David Blanchett, head of retirement research at Morningstar, published a 2014 study describing what he called a retirement spending smile, suggesting that inflation-adjusted spending tends to fall early and medium term in retirement and then rise again, mainly because of healthcare costs. This is directly supported by data from the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. According to the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, the average personal expenditure between the ages of 55 and 64 was about $54,500 in 2017, while the average personal expenditure between the ages of 65 and 74 fell to about $50,300. Research makes clear that people spend less, not more, after retirement than when they work. So when Fidelity tells you it plans to replace 45% of savings income on a Social Security basis, and other rules of thumb push that number up to 70% or 80% from all sources, actual research on retiree spending shows that many people save too much for a lifestyle they will never live. Let me give you another piece of evidence, one directly from Fidelity's own data. As of the fourth quarter of 2024, the average 401k balance of baby boomers among 26,700 corporate retirement plans and 24.5 million participants was $249,300, with an average II of about $257,000. The average 401k for Gen X is $192,300, but baby boomers retire every day well below 10 times their wages. And certainly not all millionaires, but most of them are wondering because their actual spending, combined with Social Security, will eventually be enough, no matter how much savings they have, sometimes pensions or part-time income. When it comes to Social Security, Fidelity's model assumes that pension income is zero, but it does take Social Security into account. SA expects average monthly retirement benefits to reach $2,071 in January 2026, with the cost of living adjusted to 2.8% in 2026 at just under $25,000 a year. Delaying claims between the ages of 62 and 70 increases benefits by about 8% a year, a powerful lever for people in their 50s and 60s to decide when to claim, which may be more important than whether you reach any multiple of your salary. So, what do you get from all this? Here are my real thoughts after reading the study. Fidelity 10 times rule is not entirely wrong. It is just a single answer to a very personal question, structured around a 25-year-old with a straight career path, no pension, and no idea what their lives will look like in 40 years. If your profile suits you, use it. If you are 45, 55, or 65, staring at numbers and feeling like you lost, understand what you're actually looking at, because it is an aspirational benchmark, not a judgment about your future. The number that really matters is the number that no one at Fidelity can calculate for you, which is the real annual expenditure after you retire. Multiply that number by 25 or follow the 4% rule, and you end up with a spreadsheet based on your real life goals, not someone else's. On top of that, plus layers of Social Security and then any pension income. If you want to work part-time and take into account the reality of Fidelity retirees' 2025 medical cost estimates, healthcare alone will pay $172,500 for 65-year-olds who retire today. This is a real number, not one I made up. Mike Shamrell, Fidelity's Vice President for Thinking Leadership, best describes retirement savings as a marathon, not a sprint. I fully agree with him, but I would add that this is not a finish line race with others. If you get only one idea from this video, do so. Don't let 10 times your salary convince you that you failed. Calculate your own numbers. Know how much you actually spend. Understand what Social Security will give you, and build your retirement around the life you really want, rather than a spreadsheet someone else created at 25. The goals here will never reach Fidelity's numbers. The only real goal is retirement,